On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk CEDIA Expo, including yoga, as well as the labor shortage. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 347, CEDIA Yoga.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Daylight, the leading producer of high-quality projection screens worldwide.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matthew Scott, for AVNation.tv. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by two of my longtime friends. First, we have Katye McGregor-Bennett. She's the president of KMB Communications. How you doing, Katye?
I'm doing great. Last few hours in the office before CEDIA Expo, so it's a little mayhemy, but it's also it's
exactly. It's calm before the storm, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, now you and John jump in the truck and you just head down the highway. And...
No,
Are you flying?
Yeah. So dog recovering from surgery can't be left alone. So John has to stay home with the baby. Yep. So
got it. Never mind.
So flying the show.
Relaxing flight, if that is a thing.
Yes.
The other person on the show today is the one and only Uncle Richie, Mr. Richard Fregosa. He's the principal of Fregosa Design. How you doing, Uncle Richie?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm glad you're back at the helm. I had a couple of pinch hitting spots, and so I prefer being on. I prefer on being this side of the mic.
I think you're pitch hitting next week too, because we have. I'm away again, and then we have Thanksgiving. It's a lot of. All of a sudden, it's busy.
Yeah,
which I like.
Happy to do it. The two-headed monster here, so no problem
exactly.
at all. So, Uncle Richie, we're just gonna rename my episodes Uncle Richie's Fireside Chats. So
yeah, that works. We're gonna take over. It's all family up in here. All right, we're gonna kick this off. This is the last show before CEDIA Expo kicks off next week, as Katye alluded to. So we've got two stories that we're going to tie together. One comes from AVNation.tv, Unplug to Connect, an all levels AV yoga session that's going to happen live in person for the first time at Expo 2022, as well as Residential Systems Twice and What's Hi-Fi have extended their award nomination deadlines for Best of Show at CEDIA 2022. So again, if you're a manufacturer, get those nominations in so you can potentially win an award. So we're pulling these two stories together just to kind of generally kick it off about what we're going to expect from Expo this year in Dallas. Katye, obviously you're going, as we alluded to, you're supporting a bunch of brains out there. You're also can I say you're headlining the AV Yoga event?
Let's just say I host. Yes. I help make it happen.
Tell us a little bit more about the yoga event. And then I'd love to hear your expectations coming into this show and what you expect to get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. So AV yoga is something that's definitely near and dear to my heart. This started a few years ago, right as COVID was clamping down. And it was one of those things, you guys have heard me talk about it, but it was one of those things where I needed some sanity. And so I started doing virtual yoga with my yoga instructor here in Red Lodge. Loved it. I told two friends, and 2 years later, AV yoga is still here. We practice every Wednesday via Zoom with Maddie Ringer. This year, we're bringing her down to CEDIA Expo. So we're doing AV yoga at CEDIA Expo on Saturday morning. It does start early, so doors open at 7. We start at 7:30 and we go for about an hour. But here's the thing: you can stay up all night drinking and do yoga in the morning with us, because she's going to be running a practice that's heavy on detoxifying. And it works. Trust me. I have experience in this. It works really well. Detox and sort of rejuvenation. So the idea being is really, we just want to get everybody together and kind of, let you see what it's all about, and that this community exists. It really has turned into a very tight-knit community that transcends the time that we spend together on the mat. This is a place where we come together. We talk about challenges we're having. We talk about, positions we're trying to fill with employees. We talk about, you name it. So if you've ever had any interest in a wellness program, if you've had any interest in stretching and detoxifying and rejuvenating, or just checking out a little yoga with some friends, AV Yoga, registration on Eventbrite. The story is on AVNation. So just find AV Yoga at CEDIA Expo on AVNation, click over register. $25 a person, you get a free mat, and it'll be there in the room waiting for you. So I'm super excited about that. That aside, for the show itself, I always get really excited for trade shows. You hear me get giddy hand clamps anytime we can get the community together. But this one, I think it's just been a long time coming for poor CEDIA Expo, right? Last year was sad at best. But we haven't, from a residential perspective, we haven't hung out together as a group in like 2.5 years now. So there's just so much product has come to market that nobody has really been able to see and engage with. Whether it's available or not is not a discussion I'm getting into today. But it's just time. We've kind of got to get back to center on this. And so we all know what we're doing going into 2023. There are some cool new technologies that are going to be on the show floor. I'm really big on seeing the design connection really being made with our community. As you know, I love our AV community, but I do feel very strongly that the connection that we make with the adjacent trades will help us establish bigger business going forward. So the NKBA is bringing in on Friday. They're bringing in their chapter members for the tri-state area. They're doing a tour through the show floor. They're going to be in and out of booths. So here's your kind of warning shot, exhibitors. If you don't know this already, there will be designers all over the show floor on Friday, going in and out of booths that may or may not already be scheduled. So just be ready for that and have your staff ready to talk to designers about what your product does and how to engage with your brand so that they know how to buy it or specify it coming out of the show. If we make these shows actionable for these adjacent trades, they're more likely to come back. And that, we need that. So I have a feeling Richie's going to tee this up a little bit later, but I'm really excited to see more from the adjacent trades and really just reconnecting with everybody and getting back to center here. So
yeah, that'll be a big thing. Yeah. Uncle Richie, you've been in the business for a minute. You've been going to shows for a little while. I still remember the first show I met you at where you took me around and introduced me to literally everyone. What has to happen? Katie alluded to the fact that this is kind of the first show in essentially 2.5 years of any substance that will bring the North American community as a whole, as a partial, because I don't think there's a lot of Canadians coming down for this show. Notwithstanding, in theory, most of North America hopefully will be attending the show. What does it mean, and what has to happen for the show to be deemed a success and cement its potential future? I don't know.
Well, first, I had the luxury of being able to attend ISE, in Barcelona at the beginning of the year. And then, and that show, a lot of the interviews that I spent, kind of the precursor was talking to everybody going, okay, right before the doors opened, everybody had that moment of, here we go, or all right, here we go. And it was just this big unknown about what it was going to be like when everybody walked in. Post-show, everybody felt really good coming out of the show. They felt that they had quality conversations. They felt that the manufacturers were engaged. And there was just a lot of happiness to be back, especially dealing with international companies and multinationals. They were like, we're getting the chance to see other employees, coworkers who we've never met before in 2 years. And so that was a huge thing in terms of bringing everybody together. InfoComm, in Avixa, a lot of the same thing happened. When we were in Vegas, it was the big concern, which was, because the year before the numbers were quite interesting and they were, pretty much what we expected. But the question became coming out of InfoComm, itself was, how did everybody feel? And it was, it felt like a lot of the people that I spoke to said it felt like that first step towards normal in North America, and InfoComm is a huge show. It wasn't a huge show this past summer, but it was big, and you could see the trends moving towards it. Fast forward 3 months, CEDIA is not going to have the crowd numbers that InfoComm is going to have, that Avixa is going to have. So really the question is going to be, how are the people who are attending feeling if they feel like they're back to normal? And that's a big part of it. The manufacturers, a lot of them made the investment and we talked with a lot of manufacturers that it's expensive to have a trade show booth. It's not cheap. And so for a lot of them, they were constantly dealing with that question of like, do we do it? Do we pull the plug? Is it worth it? Just the people, getting everybody situated. sorry, InfoComm, there were some side effects to InfoComm that a whole lot of manufacturers and attendees, the little virus poked his head back up. And so there's still those, back of the head thoughts about, hey, am I going to be exposing myself again? I think most people are thinking no. I think most people are saying, hey, it's time to get back to in-person shows. So, long story short, the metrics are going to be, it's not going to be a numbers thing. It's not going to be any close. I think that if the goal is to say, here's number X in 2022, and here's a direct correlation to the numbers in 2019, and because those numbers are lower, it's a failure. That's not going to be the case. It is going to be a matter of the manufacturers and the integrators who are there, whether they feel they're getting business done. And again, you're still dealing with the same old issues. Every manufacturer is going to sidestep supply chain. Every integrator is going to come in going, we want to be able to sell stuff, but there's no product. And some manufacturers are going to say, that's not a problem. We've got product. Other manufacturers are going to go in, you should have bought it earlier. So I think that for the resi market, the dealers themselves are going to get an opportunity to encounter products that manufacturers have been waiting for 2 years to show off. A lot of the manufacturers have been working on stuff, but they held off on their releases because they're like, one, we don't necessarily have the raw materials, but two, we don't have anybody to show it to. So, you'll get the press widget and everything else. So, I think that no matter what, the organization is going to spin it. Emerald's going to spin it.
It was
however
great. The best show ever.
And I think once you take that big grain of salt and you put it in your cheek, I think the end result is going to be what Daryl Friedman, the new CEO of CEDIA, kind of comes out of this feeling like, because it's going to be his first opportunity to really sit with the membership. I think that it's going to be polling the membership after and saying, do you feel that the organization, now keep in mind, CEDIA the show and CEDIA the organization are two different entities now. CEDIA the organization is having a show put on that is managed by Emerald. So a big part of it, I think, is how is CEDIA the organization going to engage its members? That, I think, is going to be a metric that you can't quantify necessarily, but it will be a qualification of the success of the show.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We're going to change topics for a second and look at a story that comes to us from CE Pro. The labor shortage is potentially starting to ease. The Home Building Institute has reported a 300% gain in schools, aiming at offering technical trade programming. They're also with the launch of a Schools to Skills grant program. They've funded more than $1.7 million in trade programs across 33 states in 159 schools, including 40 new schools for 2022. There's a bunch of numbers showing payroll for construction, etc. I also want to allude to a story that comes to us from Residential Systems on Prep Tech has launched a crowdfunding campaign to help address that, to again try to add more than this one's focused on adding 1,000 new technicians every year that are trained. Uncle Richie, I want to start with you on this one. And I'm going to preface it with my line to get coffee this morning at my local Tim Hortons, which pre-pandemic, no matter how long the line was when I got there, we were through that line in the drive-thru in 7 minutes max. This morning, it was about 16 to 18 minutes to get a bloody cup of coffee, which started the day off well, as you can tell. I don't believe any of the hype that the labor shortage is easing one bit. I'm incredibly bearish on this. Every contractor I know is booked out almost a year. Every supply company cannot find enough people to stock shelves, let alone design things. Every manufacturer, every integrator I talk to has more work than they can deal with, economy notwithstanding, because they're so backlogged from a lack of work. Are we to the point where, as an industry, we don't care if they're trained or not? We literally want someone with a pulse. And if you have a pulse, we will hire you and try to train you and at least get 2 weeks out of you if we can. And hopefully you stick around. But heck, I'll take the 2 weeks if I can get it.
It's a much bigger thing than that. It really is.
It was such a good intro, though. Come
It
on.
was a fantastic intro. Like I said, you let it down, you put it on the tee, and then I just decided to start playing hockey. So,
Thanks. We're playing baseball, buddy. Come on.
Oh, boy. Okay, so we know that I live in the Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
So we
Now we
have
do.
so we have a bit of a skewed view sometimes of pay rates and housing costs and everything else, right? We're paying a premium for it. But it does have a direct correlation to how other workforces are viewing their worth in other regional areas that don't necessarily have that same cost of living and that same, just overall costs. Again, I mean, you've got downtown Manhattan, you've got Chicago, you've got San Francisco, Los Angeles, Miami. I mean, you've got Boston, you've got key markets that, you're going to see, an influx of wealth and it kind of works its way out. And then you add tech. Tech has upset the view of income levels, right? I mean, people can't go on Facebook or read a story or everything else and be aghast that, somebody coming out of college with a computer science degree is making $250,000 right out of school, right? It just, just that whole thought. And these are the same people who are sitting there yelling at teachers going, my tax dollars are here to pay for you to babysit my child, right? So my point that I'm getting to, there's a generational shift that is happening right now. And the established group of old 60-something-year-old white guys who are expecting employees to come in and suffer for the good of the company while they profited off of it, though this generation of workforce is coming in going, no thanks. And, they call it the quiet quitting. They call it everything else. No, the actual workers are determining what their life and their quality of life is worth. And they are no longer just saying, I'm going to take what I can get. Now, our generation of employers, myself included, was used to you come in, you pay your dues. We spent 4 years doing this and the grunt work and I got paid sub wage and because, I earned my way through. That ain't happening anymore. And those molds need to be broken from an organizational standpoint as well. Companies who take care of their employees, companies who partner with their employees, companies who are working to build up their group, they're not having those woes. The companies that are having the issues are the ones who are saying, who can I get the cheapest to get this done? They're not making an investment in the employees and then bemoaning the fact that employees aren't making an investment in them. So it's a much bigger thing than just, there's not people who will work. Education is a huge thing. Obviously, my wife Dawn, is a consultant and she works very closely with CTE, Career Trade Education, with trade school, right? Vocation school.
Yeah.
A big part of the shift in education, there is a nationwide teacher shortage for a reason. Mm-hmm. Teachers no longer are willing to be guilted into living in substandard economic conditions because they were made to feel guilty to take care of kids. That's a big thing going on. People are finally saying, no, the institutional lockdown is no longer acceptable. And it's going across all of the industries, our industry as well. And the fact is that, if you're going to find people, you need to be willing to invest in them. Now, CTE is a way to come out of it. CEDIA has been working on it. There's lobbying efforts. There are avenues available, but they're not quick fixes. And what everybody's bemoaning is the quick fix and dealing with our first world problems, right? When we want that 5-minute cup of coffee, We're not sitting there going, oh, by the way, that person who's making that $5 cup of coffee, are they making a living wage or not? We don't sit and go, are they making a living wage? We just go, I want my coffee. And now, because we're inconvenienced, and I like that. I like that the inconvenience is forcing people who are purchasing the goods to rethink. And here's Uncle Richie's West Coast vibes again, right? I think it's good because I think it's causing people to think more about their fellow humans and their conditions and how are they going to improve their workforce as opposed to exploiting their workforce.
I still just want my coffee, but that's a good point. I just want it faster. I don't care if I got to pay a little bit more for it. That was actually a very, very good point. Katie, what do we kind of to build off that? What do we have to do as an industry? I've mentioned it a couple times on the show. I've had a young man just out of high school that's been working with us all summer, and it's been really good because very rarely do we get somebody coming in with literally no skills. They've never done anything. They don't know how to read a tape measure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As much as we make that joke a lot, I myself have not dealt with this, where again they're coming from literally nothing, from a skill set. He is not looking to pursue a career with us or in our industry. He wanted to learn some stuff as he's trying to get into electrical trade school. And we're having conversations about why he wants to do that versus come work with us. And it's the biggest factor is he doesn't have to fight for jobs because electricians are in huge demand right now. And B, the compensation level is dramatically higher. As an industry, if we want to be professional and if we want to attract top tier talent, do we need to make our channel significantly more attractive to people, trying to draw them in? And probably part and parcel with that, do we need to find a way to dramatically improve compensation?
Yeah, absolutely. Across the board. So there's a few things need to happen. And I want to dive into that, but I do also want to say that part of this story, the way that it's being spun, is clickbaity.
100%.
And as a comms person, I just want to draw attention that when we talk about clickbait, this is a really good example of it, because it's talking about a shortage that may be alleviated by things that are just put into place now that are going to take years and years and years to actually alleviate any shortage. Right.
5 years.
Anyways. Yeah. So sorry. Okay. I vented that. I've gotten that out of my system. So now back to your question. Part of the reason that article exists, and to your point specifically, is that this is a finding. These are findings and initiatives that are being announced by the HBI, the home building, right? So we need our industry associations, of which there are more than just one. The CEDIA is obviously for the channel custom installation, but I think if you look at it in a broader umbrella, we've got CTA, which overarches us as an electronics industry, and others. I think collectively our industry associations need to be finding a better pathway to success and communicating what we do, why we do what we do, how cool it is what we do, and that there is a career path in this industry. And until the associations start really making that a drum that they're banging on with consistency as loudly as other adjacent trades do, have done, and continue to pursue, we're going to be getting the table scraps. And I really hate to say it quite that bluntly, but even, in construction, if you were to consider that we're a component of construction, and I'm not here to debate whether we are or we are not, but are there as many opportunities in AV if for somebody who's looking at construction, they wouldn't even know. Right. Yeah. But there is a dotted line connection to those trades. And maybe you don't want to swing a hammer forever, but start by swinging a hammer, get to know what goes on inside a residence, decide that you like the technology side, and move on over into AV. I just don't think that there's a whole lot of connectivity between entry level position leading to next level, leading to potential career path extensions that may render more money down the road. Now, to your point about more money, is I don't think that we are as an industry. I don't think we are garnering the type of wages that we should. I don't think we're fighting for them as individuals. I don't think companies are realizing the quality of the value that we're bringing, and I don't think that they're reinvesting in their workforce. And I'll say it's not just at the integration level. It's at the manufacturer level. It's at the association level. It's at the agency level. It's everywhere. Nobody is being compensated for the level of skill, the level of expertise, and the individual nature of our industry. Nobody across the board is being compensated appropriately right now. And that's a problem. And it's going to be a really big, big problem if we don't find a way to start paying our people better now and in the near future, because adjacent trades and other things are just going to be more interesting than a lot of the BS that takes place, and every job has BS. So, not to say that we're the only ones, but, a level of compensation and a package that goes along with it certainly offsets some of that. Right. And the next generation is keen.
You make a really good point though. If you're a carpenter, right, and you're a framer, right, you're not a GC, you're a stinking framer. No disrespect to those guys or those people. They are out there swinging hammers in every bit of weather. It doesn't matter whether it's hot, cold, they're out there driving nails. A framer with 3 to 4 years experience is going to make more than most programmers in AV. And yes, is it a little bit more physically demanding? Sure. Is it harder because you're out in the elements? Sure. Those people are driving $100,000 trucks that they're buying brand new every other year, easily. Whereas your programmers, I know we're not paying programmers that well.
I know. Exactly. And I would even challenge too, and not to be debated heavily here, but Matt, you give me one number, Richie, you give me a number. What were programmers getting paid 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and what are they getting paid today?
It's about at the same rate. I mean, you're seeing maybe, and even then it's regionally. I know that in major metropolitan areas, we raise rates, kind of as the market will bear. But even then, between now and 5 years ago, it's been minimal, in terms of, it's not, we've had to be sensitive to it.
But see, that's the thing too.
We just raised our rates for the first time in 7 years. 7 years.
And you're getting pushback, aren't you?
We raised them a little bit, but we didn't raise them ridiculously. We didn't say, hey, we forgot to do this, so we're now going to raise them to an appropriate level. We raised them incrementally, right? It's like a tax assessment on your house. We're going to get to that point in 7 years. The pushback we've gotten is ridiculous, to the point where our hourly rate was not covering fuel for the trucks to get to the site. And we're having those conversations as well. It's a whole other gamut. All right, let's wrap it there. I'm going to put a small little unrelated subnote. I'm working on a conversation that I want to have about partnerships between integrators and vendors. So if you're listening to this and you want to have a really, I'm going to say politely aggressive conversation about partnerships, hit me up on Twitter, because otherwise it's just going to be a really long rant of me ranting. So
Matt, do you mean partnerships or air quote partnerships like we discussed a few weeks ago?
Either or.
Formal partnerships or alignments?
No,
right?
no. I'm talking actual partnerships between the vendors that we as integrators sell on a daily basis, and obviously integrators. Because I'm watching some stuff happen that frustrates me immensely, and I'd like to have an open conversation. So I have a few people in mind I'd like to talk to, but if you're listening to this and you have an opinion on this, or you'd like to get into it with me, let's go. All right, let's wrap it there on that real positive note. Uncle Richie, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Fregosa Design, where can they do that?
You can find me on our website, Fregosa Design, which is actually currently under reconstruction again. I know. Yeah, I know. 7 years of having Steve Jobs.
Don't change it. No, leave it.
I know. I almost,
at this point, don't
like
ever change it. No.
However, that will be updating soon. But in the interim, you can also find me on Twitters and the interwebs. Twitter's at @Fregosa. The interwebs, if you type in our name, we do show up. However, as I like to say, the best place I hope you find me is here on AVNation.tv, here with my good friend Matt. We've got all our other shows that reach all the other verticals. However, very special thing coming up pretty soon with me and my partner Steve Greenblatt. We just finished recording episode 98 of A State of Control. So we are getting very close to episode 100 of A State of Control. So it's a pretty big thing for us. So I hope you find us on our 100th, our 99th, and our 100th episodes coming up soon. But best place, too, is to help our sponsors out. That makes us all happy so that we can continue to keep making shows that all three of my friends will watch.
It's cute. You think you have three. Katie, my friend, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Canby Communications, follow all your partners and people you're working with this coming week at Expo, where can they do that?
Yeah, so KMB Communications, we are all over. We're all over the sphere of the web. You seek and you shall find, but look for KMB Communications or KMB.com, 2 M's, and you will find. I know we've just put up, I think this morning, maybe it might have been over the weekend, but a map where all of our client locations are. So if you're looking to find me, definitely check out that map and spot me at one of those booths. I'll also be spending some time over at the Smart Stage Show. Hoping to see all of you guys there.
Excellent. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and most other social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.